Hello and welcome, dear listener. This is your bedtime story, gently told by a voice from Ireland. I'm honored to be the voice that keeps you company as you drift into restful sleep tonight. This evening, I return to my famously uneventful series, the one where very little happens, but somehow still it brings rest. Tonight's tale explores the long and winding journey of the home, not just the building, but the idea of it. That feeling of shelter, of safety, of somewhere to be. I once received a message from someone listening while sleeping in their car. They said these stories helped them rest. That message has never left me. So if tonight you find yourself without a house of your own, please know this story is also for you. I hope it brings you calm, a smile, or even just a gentle yawn. Before the story begins, let's settle into stillness with a few moments of relaxation. A short countdown from 10 to 1. With each number, let yourself ease a little more into the support beneath you. 10. Feel the ground or mattress below you, the floor, the blanket, or whatever is holding you now. Beneath that, the earth itself, holding us all. Let your body drop a little heavier into that safety. 11. Sense into your body. Where do you feel tight? In your legs, your back, your face. Simply notice. With awareness comes softness. Let go just a little. 12. You are safe right now. This voice will only take you to gentle places. Trust in that. Let the edges soften further. 13. The day is over. Whatever happened, happened. Let the thoughts pass like leaves drifting in moonlit water. 14. This is your time. You are allowed to rest. Deeply, fully. 15. There is peace within you. Maybe hidden, but there. Waiting. Feel for it now. 16. Let gratitude rise for the quiet, for shelter, for the breath you're taking. 17. Begin to imagine. Picture a wild, open place, far from cities and clocks. Not a house in sight. 18. Check in with your body one last time. Let the muscles go slack. 19. Fully let go now. Sink, drift. I'll take it from here. Part 1. In which early humans begin to wonder whether being outdoors is all it's cracked up to be. Somewhere around 300,000 years ago, or perhaps a bit more, the earliest modern humans appeared. They thought, they wondered, they survived. They worried about big cats, cold nights, and which part of the ground was least soggy. They knew how to make tools, how to light a fire, how to leave marks on cave walls. But one thing had not yet occurred to them, the concept of inside. Homes weren't built, they were found. A dry ditch, a hollow tree, a sun-warmed rock with shade on one side. If you weren't being chased and your feet weren't cold, you'd found yourself a home. But as time slowly unfurled, humans began to show preferences. Some spots were quieter. Some caught the morning light. Some blocked the wind better than others. And so, the idea of home, not just shelter, but chosen shelter, began to form. Let's meet a man we'll call Marn. Marn wouldn't have called himself a Homo sapiens, but technically, he was. He lived in what we now call North Africa. His home was a shallow cave, a pile of dry grass, a rock he slept on, which also made intruding animals reconsider. Marn wasn't a dreamer, but he was steady. He liked the same spot. He grunted at strangers. He dragged a stick across the cave mouth at night, not for real protection, but to feel like he'd done something. That stick didn't do much, but Marn felt safer. And sometimes, feeling safe is half the battle. Part 2, in which humans begin asking where to stay, and not just how to survive. Once our ancestors figured out that lying under the open sky wasn't always ideal, they began searching for better places to rest their heads. It didn't happen quickly. At first, it was a simple question. Is this spot all right? Then, a few thousand years later, could that one be slightly better? By around 100,000 years ago, early people had begun choosing locations with more care. Take Blombo's cave, near the southern tip of what we now call South Africa. This was no designer home, but it was near the sea, offered a dry ledge under rock, and stood just high enough to avoid puddles. That, by ancient standards, was luxury. Elsewhere along the Euphrates, humans picked spots near water, warmth, and flat ground. In northern China, limestone caves kept people cool in the heat and a little warmer in the cold. These weren't castles, but they offered consistency. What early humans began to prefer were places with edges, a back wall, a roof of sorts, a nook they could recognize. Somewhere to grunt in peace. They weren't homes the way we know them now, but they sheltered, soothed, and brought the beginnings of a habit. Staying put. Part 3, in which caves become routine, and everyone picks a favorite corner. Life in a cave sounds adventurous, but in truth, it was repetitive. Very little drama. Very few renovations. Once a family or group claimed a cave, they began doing the same things in the same places until patterns emerged. The entrance became the workshop, a place to sharpen tools, look out, think. Further inside, where it was warmer, people curled up to sleep. In between, there was space to eat, chat, or stare at nothing in particular. Each person had their preferred patch. One might claim a bit of sloped stone. Another might guard a particularly smooth rock with great affection. These routines brought order, not through design, but through repetition. Flint in one corner, bones in another, food here, sleep there. It was the earliest form of interior layout. Evidence from sites like Blombo's and Grotte de Lazaret shows that early people divided space by habit. There were no walls, no furniture, just zones shaped by action. And while conversation was limited, togetherness mattered. They shared food, sat in silence, laughed, perhaps, at the firelight. It wasn't modern comfort, but it was a kind of home. Part 4, in which fire moves in and walls become more than rock. One day, someone dragged a flaming branch into their cave and didn't let it go out. Why? perhaps for warmth, maybe for cooking, maybe just because the light was nice. Whatever the reason, fire came inside and never left again. Archaeologists get very excited about ancient ash layers. They suggest people had indoor fires over 100,000 years ago. Places like Blombo's cave show signs of this. Hearths used over and over again. Fire became a kind of housemate. It demanded care, made sounds, warmed the air. It gave the cave a center, somewhere to gather, to stare, to think about nothing at all. And in that flickering glow, something unexpected began. Art. People picked up burnt wood and began to draw. Not near the entrance, but deep inside, places with no natural light. They painted animals, hands, marks, stories. On the walls of Chauvet, Altamira, and Lascaux, they filled space with memory. These paintings weren't useful, but they made the cave feel different. Not just a shelter, a place where people had been and left something behind. Part 5, in which someone builds a wall on purpose and others follow. Caves were good, dry, defensible, already made, but there weren't enough of them. They were often taken, or full of bats, or on cliffs. So eventually, someone got tired of searching and built something from scratch. Not a modern house, no chimney, no doorbell, but it was shelter made by hand. Around 20,000 years ago in what's now Ukraine, people built circular huts using mammoth bones, stacking them like ivory igloos and covering them with earth. In ancient Japan, early pit dwellings were dug into the soil, framed with timber and roofed with thatch. In parts of Africa, quick-to-build shelters from reeds and branches offered mobile homes, sturdy enough, portable when needed. Materials varied: bone, wood, clay, fiber. Shapes varied too: sunken, domed, round, square. But the idea was consistent. This is mine. I made it. It keeps out the rain. Part 6, in which people stay put and begin bickering about chores. Somewhere between 12,000 and 9,000 years ago, across many parts of the world, people settled. They planted, they domesticated, they stayed. In Saddlehuruyuk, Turkey, homes were built wall to wall, roofs touching. There were no streets. You walked across rooftops and climbed down through the ceiling. In Jericho, stone homes appeared with plastered floors and grain storage. In India, Peru, China, and beyond, people built rooms to live, cook, store, and even treat toothaches. The buildings weren't perfect. Mud walls cracked, thatched roofs leaked, but they marked the beginning of something bigger: the household as a daily life center. Families were raised, meals were shared. Disagreements happened, especially about who forgot to replace the firewood again. Part 7, in which small settlements grow and someone invents the neighbor complaint. Soon 1 hut became 2, 2 became 10. Someone built a shed. Someone else built a slightly larger hut. By 5,000 years ago, towns like Uruk in Mesopotamia were bustling, with canals, temples, homes, and people shouting about the noise. Elsewhere, Mohenjo-Daro had private wells and grid planning. Ancient China laid out streets with drainage. Egypt clustered homes along trade routes and temples. With each new cluster came new sounds. Markets, cooking, arguing, laughing, and always someone saying, "It used to be quieter here." Part 8, in which civilization arrives and brings a blueprint. Egyptian homes lined up in rows, flat-roofed, beige, functional. In Greece, symmetry arrived. Courtyards became common. Walls got painted. And then came Rome. In a Roman domus, upper-middle-class citizens lived in homes with atriums, impluviums, frescoes, and rooms for reclining. Titus Septimus Balbus, let's say he was a minor official with too many sandals, lived in such a house. His atrium gleamed. His kitchen smoked. His ancestors stared from painted niches. He had a dining room for lounging, a bedroom for resting, and a goat fresco that wouldn't scrub off. It was civilization, warmed by the sun, decorated with mosaics, and occasionally echoing with someone shouting, "Who moved my wine jug?" Part 9, in which houses grow too big and emperors get dramatic. Some Romans lived in tidy homes. Others, emperors mostly, lived in palaces so enormous they forgot why they were built. Nero built a rotating dining room. Another emperor installed a ceiling that dropped petals. By the time Marcus Aurelius ruled, houses had grown theatrical. Yet Marcus, philosopher and emperor, saw past it. He wanted peace, not marble. He might have been content in a hut. Instead, he wrote his meditations inside a palace. "Very little is needed for a happy life," he wrote, possibly while surrounded by 6 statues and a dancing fountain. Part 10, in which the empire ends and roofs lower. Rome fell. The fancy villas crumbled, and in their place, practical huts rose. Europe's medieval homes were made from mud, straw, and determination. Smoke had no chimney. Walls leaked. Privacy didn't exist. Yet even a one-room house with a sagging roof was home. Meanwhile, in China and Africa, more sophisticated designs flourished. Timber courtyards, adobe cities, stone compounds. The Islamic world built around geometry and grace. But back in England, Oswin the haystack builder had one room, one table, and a roof that dripped in the middle. Still, it was his, and he liked it. Part 11, in which houses defend themselves. Castles rose, thick walls, arrow slits, rooms for lords, rooms for sheep. In Ireland, Kilkenny Castle stood firm. First a fortress, then a home. Inside there were hearths, tapestries, carved chests, and drafty windows. Visitors arrived by horseback. Dogs wandered freely. Boiled meat was served with pride. It wasn't cozy, but it was solid. And in a stormy world, that counted for a lot. Part 12, in which houses show off. In the 1700s and 1800s, homes became performance pieces. In France, palaces with too many windows. In York, small terrace houses with wallpapered parlors and coal fires. In Hamburg, flats above shops filled with clocks and toast smoke. Everywhere, homes became narrower, busier, more private. They had stairs that creaked, cupboards full of pickle jars, and cats that believed they were in charge. These were the first homes we might truly recognize today. Part 13, in which symmetry straightens the walls. In Georgian Britain and Ireland, houses stood tall and orderly. Brick facades, sash windows, predictable staircases. Families on one floor, servants on another. Henrietta Wexley of Bloomsbury had a house like this. Her curtains matched her cutlery. Her dog picked favorites. Across the channel, Baron Haussmann rebuilt Paris with elegance. Apartment blocks lined the boulevards, each with balconies and careful trim. Etienne Regnault, a teacher, lived in one such flat. It wasn't large, but it was loved, cared for in the smallest ways. Part 14, in which the past refuses to leave. If you walk through Paris, or Dublin, or Leeds today, the old houses are still there, with routers and microwaves inside. But the bricks are the same. The 20th and 21st centuries brought change. Concrete, drywall, efficiency. But still, some people care about the feel of a doorknob, the way light hits the wall. Some build homes with pride. Others live where they must. Some rest in 5 rooms, others in 1. But all crave safety and quiet and a place to be. Part 15, in which homes learn to share. By the early 20th century, the world had begun spinning faster. Cars honked, trains roared, and buildings rose like ambition itself. In cities, land grew expensive and space shrank. So houses became neighbors, and neighbors became closer than ever. Apartments bloomed, tall and narrow, brick or concrete, some with mail slots and marble staircases, others with narrow corridors and paper-thin walls. People now lived above, below, and beside each other. Strangers became wallmates. The sound of a piano drifted from floor to floor, mingling with arguments, lullabies, and someone's favorite radio show. Shared living brought new customs, nodding politely at the lift, tiptoeing at night, borrowing sugar from across the hall. It wasn't always harmonious, but it was connected. In these shared spaces, a new kind of home emerged, one that wasn't defined by 4 walls alone, but by the people just outside them. Part 16, in which a home gets electrified. A flick of a switch, that's all it took. By the mid-20th century, light no longer came from flame. Homes glowed softly, instantly, from ceiling bulbs and table lamps. Electricity brought more than light. It brought sound. The radio hummed softly in kitchens, whispering stories of distant lands while someone stirred soup. Fridges arrived and changed everything. Leftovers lasted. Ice cubes clinked. Milk didn't go sour by noon. And then came the television. A box with moving pictures that turned living rooms into little theaters. Families gathered, leaning forward, their dinners growing cold. Electricity gave homes rhythm. The coffee pot gurgled. The washer rumbled. The doorbell chimed. And in the quiet after all the noise, homes had a new hum, steady, low, alive. Part 17, in which someone adds a doorbell and the dog doesn't like it. Small inventions made homes feel smarter. Someone decided knocking was too much work and installed a bell. The dog barked, someone sighed, and the bell rang again. Thermostats learned how to argue with the seasons. Carpet softened footsteps. Wallpaper fought boredom. The telephone brought voices in from the world. Tucked on a hallway table or hanging on a kitchen wall, it connected cousins, old friends, and wrong numbers. But with each improvement came questions. Was the new better than the old? Were we losing quiet? Were the walls talking too much? Still, homes adapted. They grew with us, clunky and charming, loud and lovely. Because even when the phone rang during dinner, it was nice to know someone remembered your number. Part 18, in which the kitchen becomes the heart. Once upon a stovetop, the kitchen was hidden, a back room with heat, knives, and hurried footsteps. But slowly, kitchens moved forward. They grew brighter, louder, busier. They became a place to talk, to lean on counters, to eat standing up, to sneak a spoonful of something warm. By the 1960s and 70s, open-plan living took hold. Walls came down. The cook was no longer alone. The clatter of pans joined conversations about school, work, or how the cat had learned to open the fridge again. Fridges collected magnets and memories. Drawers filled with gadgets, some useful, some not. The kitchen stopped being just a place for cooking. It became a place for living. It wasn't always tidy, but it was often full of smells, of sounds, of love. Part 19, in which furniture has feelings, probably. Homes began to express themselves. Some did it with shag carpets, others with floral couches. Some proudly displayed wooden ducks for reasons nobody could explain. Design magazines declared what was in: avocado green, sunken living rooms, beanbags shaped like regret. People began nomming their decor minimalist, bohemian, industrial, as if their homes had careers. But beneath the trends, every home told a quieter story. Of a chair worn by habit, of a mug chipped in just the right place, of a hallway that creaked only when you needed to be quiet. Homes were no longer just places to live. They were reflections, quiet mirrors of the lives inside them. Part 20, in which screens come to stay. It began with a television in the living room. Then came a second. Then a computer in the corner. Then a phone in the pocket. Then another screen. Then another. Suddenly, homes weren't just shelter. They were portals. You could sit on your bed and visit Tokyo, Oslo, or someone's kitchen in Wisconsin. You could work, learn, flirt, argue, order noodles, and watch penguins, all without leaving your chair. Screens brought the world in, but sometimes they crowded the room. So people sought balance: a shelf for paper books, a drawer for devices at bedtime, a room without Wi-Fi just because. In a world always online, home became the place where you could, occasionally, switch off. Part 21, in which the home becomes a workplace, reluctantly. There was a time when work stayed outside. You'd leave in the morning, return at dusk, and the house would sigh with your arrival. But then, quite suddenly, work came home. A kitchen table became an office. A bedroom corner sprouted a desk. Children zoomed through meetings. Pets became coworkers. Time blurred. Some found comfort in this closeness. Others missed commutes they once cursed. The home stretched itself, trying to be everything: an office, a school, a yoga studio, a sanctuary. And while it didn't always succeed, it tried. It adjusted. Because homes, like people, are adaptable. They bend, they shuffle, they make room for what matters. Part 22, in which plants become roommates. One day, someone brought home a small fern. It sat in a corner. It didn't complain. It made the room feel alive. Soon more arrived. Snake plants, pothos, little succulents with names like Steve. Plants took over shelves, dangled from ceilings, and soaked in sun from windowsills. Some were pampered. Some were neglected. Some survived anyway. In a fast-moving world, plants moved slowly. They needed water, light, patience. They reminded people to breathe, to pause, to notice a new leaf, to celebrate the quiet green miracles of staying still and growing anyway. Part 23, in which homes begin to talk back. At first, the house listened. You pressed buttons, flipped switches, turned knobs. Then one day you said, "Lights on," and the house obeyed. Smart homes arrived quietly, like polite but persistent guests. Thermostats adjusted themselves. Doorbells showed you visitors on your phone. Fridges reminded you to buy milk, and occasionally, too many avocados. You could unlock the front door while miles away. You could ask the ceiling what the weather was. Some people loved this. Others missed the silence. Yet with every beep and blink, the house learned. It wasn't just a structure anymore. It was responsive. A soft-spoken assistant, a memory keeper, a witness to the lives it sheltered. And while it wasn't truly alive, it did remember your birthday. Part 24, in which homes shrink on purpose. Not everyone wanted more. As cities swelled and rents climbed, people began to dream smaller. A van, a cabin, a house on wheels, a room built for one. Tiny homes emerged like thoughtful whispers, efficient, intentional, cozy. There were clever shelves, foldable tables, loft beds with skylights. Every square inch mattered. People gave away things they didn't need. They chose less. They cherished space not by size, but by feeling. Outside, the world raced. Inside, the kettle boiled, the book stayed open, and the rain tapped gently on the roof. A small home, when filled with care, could feel enormous. Part 25, in which the idea of home floats. Some homes no longer touched the ground. They drifted on water, in clouds of solar panels, across valleys in slow silence. Houseboats bobbed gently in canals. Tree houses rose among the branches. Capsules hung from cliffs. Domes stood in deserts like gentle bubbles of solitude. Home became less about location, more about sensation. Was it still? Was it safe? Did it hold you without gripping? The world expanded, but the need was the same. A place to rest your bones, soften your shoulders, and exhale without fear. Part 26, in which memories live in walls. Every home collects echoes of laughter, of arguments, of stories told during storms, of silence after loss. Walls become historians. They remember how a child once reached the windowsill, where the couch used to sit, the dent from that one wild dance night. Even when people leave, something lingers. A warmth, a rhythm, a sense of life was here. Some call it nostalgia. Others call it haunting. Maybe it's the same thing. But wherever people live with care, or mess, or love, the house absorbs it and holds it gently without judgment. Part 27, in which homes reach the stars. Far above Earth, on a space station, someone closes their eyes and thinks of home. It's not the wires, the blinking lights, the recycled air. It's a memory of grass under bare feet, the smell of toast, the sound of water in pipes. One day, people may build homes on Mars, domes in dust, rooms under red skis. Inside, there will be beds, books, and maybe a cat who doesn't care about gravity. Even in space, we'll try to recreate comfort. We'll pin photos to the wall, paint something on the ceiling, find a favorite corner, because no matter how far we go, we bring the idea of home with us. Part 28, in which you find your own place. Perhaps your home is big. Perhaps it's borrowed. Perhaps it's just a mattress and a dream. It might have a kitchen that always needs cleaning, or a window that faces another wall, or a crack in the ceiling shaped like a bird. But if it holds you, it counts. If it offers calm, it matters. Part 29, in which a home becomes an anchor. Life can be windy, chaotic, loud. There are days when nothing feels steady, when clocks misbehave and shoes go missing, and the world seems made of questions. But home, even a small, imperfect one, can be an anchor. The smell of something familiar, the shape of a chair you always bump into, a blanket that remembers your weight. These small, unnoticed things hold you when everything else feels unsure. They don't fix the world, but they soften the fall. And sometimes that's enough. Part 30, in which a home doesn't need walls. Not all homes have walls. Some are made of moments, a campfire shared, a hand held, a song sung quietly in the backseat of a car, a warm bus ride on a rainy evening, a park bench where you always think clearly, a voice that says, you can stay as long as you like. These are homes too, temporary perhaps, but real. You carry them inside you, and when the world feels hollow, they echo gently. You have been held before. You will be again. Part 31, in which we consider the quiet corners. Every home has quiet corners. The stair that creaks differently. The patch of sun that appears at 3:07 each afternoon. The shelf you forget about until you need comfort. These small places, ignored by guests, beloved by you, are the soul of the home. They don't need to be cleaned or improved or shown off. They just are. A good home, like a good friend, has space for silence, space for sitting without needing to explain. Part 32, in which the wind outside reminds you you're inside. Some nights the wind howls, windows rattle, shadows shift, but you're inside, and that matters. Blankets wrap around you like kindness. The kettle clicks. The floor is cool, but not cold. A lamp glows like it knows you're there. Being inside doesn't just mean shelter. It means safety. It means that whatever weather the world decides to bring, you've made a little peace beneath your roof. And that is no small thing. Part 33, in which the past, present, and future meet at the doorstep. Every time you step through the door, in or out, something small happens. You bring in your day, or leave it behind. You carry in groceries and worries. You leave with dreams and errands. Over the years, that doorway becomes a witness to greetings, goodbyes, to the moment you first crossed the threshold and said, "This is mine." The home remembers, even if you don't. It remembers the first rainy coat hung up, the spilled coffee, the deep breath before hard news. It holds all of it, gently. Part 34, in which someone else might live here someday. One day you may leave this home. It might be for something bigger, or smaller, or closer to the sea, or closer to your heart. When you go, the home will stay. And someone else will walk through that door and notice the dent on the wall you stopped seeing years ago. They'll hang pictures where yours once were, fill drawers with unfamiliar things. But maybe, just maybe, they'll also feel the warmth you left behind. Because homes don't forget kindness, or laughter, or quiet joy. They pass it on. Part 35, in which we return to rest. And now, dear listener, we come full circle, from the first cave warmed by firelight to the softly humming homes of today. We've wandered gently through time. Part 36, in which homes become quieter on purpose. There came a time when people began craving less noise, less clutter, less of everything that filled the corners and distracted the mind. So homes began to whisper, with walls in calming colors, with rooms that invited deep breaths, with objects chosen for meaning, not quantity. Shoes came off at the door. Phones stayed in baskets, and the quiet, oh, the quiet, became its own kind of music. It wasn't empty, it was intentional, and it allowed the heart to stretch out again. Part 37, in which the past is built into the present. In some homes, the bricks are new, but the soul is old, a window's shape passed down from a farmhouse, a wooden beam salvaged from a barn, a teacup once held by someone long gone. Modern homes began to include memories, not as decoration, but as foundation, because we are not only building shelter, we are building continuity, a link between the hands that shaped clay thousands of years ago and yours, holding a mug of tea on a quiet afternoon. Every home carries echoes, every wall remembers. Part 38, in which the front door opens wider. For a long time, homes were places to retreat, to close the door, to stay safe. But then something shifted. People began opening their doors to neighbors, to friends, to those who needed warmth. Not just with casseroles and coffee, but with couches to crash on, rooms to rest in, space to breathe. Community grew from home, and suddenly, shelter wasn't only about your roof. It was about being part of someone else's, too. Home expanded, not in square feet, but in kindness. Part 39, in which someone moves back in. Sometimes life changes, a job ends, a marriage shifts, a parent grows older, and someone returns to the home they left long ago. The bed feels smaller, the smells are familiar, the wallpaper hasn't aged well, but there's comfort in coming back, in seeing that a space you once outgrew has quietly been waiting for your return. It doesn't ask questions. It simply says, you can rest here again. And you do. Part 40, in which the sky becomes part of the ceiling. Some homes stretch upward. They add windows above the bed. Roof gardens, tiny balconies with room for just one chair and a patch of stars. Because looking up is important. It reminds us that even on heavy days, the sky is still there. People began designing homes that honored the heavens, homes that let in moonlight, wind, and the dance of leaves in early morning sun. And sometimes that glimpse of sky was the gentlest reminder you're part of something vast, and still somehow you belong. Part 41, in which homes forgive. Some homes have seen things: tears on kitchen tiles, doors slammed harder than needed, long silences that stretched over seasons. But homes, if treated gently, forgive. They let you repaint the walls, rearrange the memories, add softness where sharpness once lived. They never forget, but they let the pain settle like dust in corners, unmoving, quiet. And in time, those walls can echo with laughter again. The floorboards remember, yes, but they also welcome healing footsteps. Part 42, in which homes travel with you. Not all homes stay still. Some live in backpacks, in suitcases, in the pages of a journal folded just so. When you move too often to unpack fully, Home becomes a feeling, not a place. It's the rhythm of your morning routine, the scarf that smells like you, the mug you carry from country to country, a familiar song, a recipe from childhood, the sound of your language spoken by a stranger in a foreign land. Sometimes you don't return home, you carry it. Part 43, in which the hallway becomes a time machine. Homes age with us. The hallway that once echoed with running feet may now hold a quiet cane tap. The mirror reflects faces it has watched change, slowly, kindly. Rooms that held toy boxes now hold sewing kits or silence, but none of it feels empty, just layered. Time doesn't erase a home story. It adds chapters. It turns childhood drawings into family heirlooms. It turns creaking floors into rhythm. And the house doesn't mind how you've changed. It changed with you. Part 44, in which a stranger calls it home. One day, someone else may live in your home. They won't know why the second step squeaks, or that the light switch in the hallway only works if you press it twice. They'll make new memories, move the furniture, cover the old holes in the wall. And that's okay, because a home is meant to be lived in again and again by whoever needs its shelter next. You leave behind more than dust. You leave behind warmth, echoes, proof that this place was once loved. Part 45, in which the house dreams too. If houses could dream, they might dream of summer breezes, of hands wiping windows clean, of being filled with voices. They might remember the music that once played softly in the afternoon, the smell of cinnamon, the way someone always left one sock in the living room. A house, when truly lived in, becomes something almost alive. And if you listen carefully, late at night, you might hear it sigh, not out of sadness, but contentment. Part 46, in which nothing happens, and that's the point. Some evenings, you come home, and nothing happens. You don't clean, or cook, or fix that one thing that keeps breaking. You sit, you stare at the wall, you let the cat nap on your lap, and that stillness, that quiet non-event, is a gift. Homes don't always have to do. They just have to be. To hold space, to offer silence, to let you exist without expectation. And sometimes, that's where the healing begins. Part 47, in which the walls feel warm, not from insulation, not from the heater, but from living, from years of laughter, heartbreak, dancing, burnt toast, surprise guests, and late night conversations, from birthdays, quiet Tuesdays, and rainy Sundays, where nothing happened except tea. These walls know you. They've watched you grow. And somehow, they still make room for more. More love, more change, more life. Part 48, in which the idea of home becomes something bigger. At the end of it all, maybe home isn't a place at all. Maybe it's the sound of your mother's voice, the hug of a friend, the look in someone's eyes that says, "You belong here." Maybe it's a familiar street, a certain smell, a song that makes you cry because you remember who you were when you first heard it. Maybe home isn't somewhere you build. Maybe it's somewhere you return to inside yourself. Part 49, in which the world sleeps. The lights dim. Somewhere, a child is tucked into bed, asking for just one more story. Somewhere else, someone turns off their last screen and exhales deeply. The houses rest too, curtains drawn, windows closed, a soft breath of stillness hanging in the air. Tonight, the world quiets down, and as you lie in your bed, wherever that may be, the story curls around you like a blanket. You are here, you are safe, you are home. Part 50, in which we say goodnight. And now, dear listener, it's time to rest. The journey of home, from cave to castle, to the quiet place you sleep tonight, is complete. This story, like a well-loved house, was built slowly, with care, with warmth, with space for you. May it stay with you as you drift into dreams. And may you remember always, you are loved, you are safe, you are already home. Good night.